Amtgard Leadership University. We've got an opportunity here at New World War to talk a little bit with some of our Canadian Amtgarders. We're sitting down and going to spend a little bit talking about Wildgard. If you were paying attention or able to listen in on the last one on the history of Rivermore, obviously Rivermore is very proud of Wildgard and all that they've accomplished. So we've been able to get an opportunity to sit down with 4 of the members and find out what some of those best practices and lessons learned are. So without further ado, what I'll just ask you to do is a quick introduction of your Amtgard name, who you are, how long you've been playing kind of deal, and then anything you want to make sure to highlight about Wildgard today. Okay, so without further ado, sir.
My name is Thistle. I've been playing for, I think, 4 years now. I joined just after about a half a year into before Wildgard started, and I think like what really makes Wildgard interesting is that the people who originated the park, like the original group of people, was so incredibly talented and diverse that it really had this really big impact on the group when it just exploded outwards. It just grew as a park really quickly because of that.
Thanks, Thistle.
Yeah.
I am Thoror. I've been playing for exactly 1 week longer than he has. I can get it down to the hour if you want. I think that the best thing about Wildgard Pass was how we were roleplay. Like that will be said a lot of times here, but Wildgard Pass was a different kind of roleplay than you see in Amtgard. Imagine improvisation, but with a set character, and that's just what we did.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Ieda, and I actually am the second longest playing person currently in Wildgard, only tied with one other player. We started the same day, and to give an idea of what the real energy of Wildgard is that when I started, it was pouring rain, there was only like a couple people in the woods looking out, oh, maybe we shouldn't play. Me and that one other person, Cycla, we're like, no, let's fight. Picked up the park's 2 polearms, and we're like, yeah, let's go! And we haven't stopped having that exact same reaction to polearms ever since. Yeah!
Unless you're on a ditch field.
Alright, I'm Fallaryn. I've been playing for 3.5 years. I actually started a week before the first snowstorm of the year. And I played all through the winter. One thing that still gets to me to this day is just the culture of our city itself, mundanely. It's just absolutely a breeding ground for Amtgard players, in my opinion.
So Fallaryn, what city is it?
Winnipeg.
Winnipeg?
Yep.
And all of Wildgard, it's one park?
Yep.
In Winnipeg? Okay. So you started just before a snowstorm and you kept coming back. What's a typical park day look like as far as size?
Well, because it's mostly younger people, we have a tendency to sleep in, so we don't really get started until about 1 o'clock.
Okay. And it lasts till?
And then there'll be some sparring and such, and then we get into the battle games.
Okay. Sure. How many people participate?
Yeah, all right. Our winter numbers, they dwell around 20. And our summer numbers, in a good summer, we will get 50 regular.
Okay. And that's you guys meet weekly?
Weekly.
Okay.
We also have other weekly meets. We used to do craft hall every week, but then we moved it to being more collegiums rather than smaller craft hall meets. Then we do weekly RP meets on Thursdays. We'll have battle game days on Saturdays every once in a while. We just cannot stop playing Amtgard. It's a genuine problem for some of us, but it's a lot of fun. Like they were saying about how Winnipeg is a breeding ground for Amtgarders, I have to completely agree. Because the joke is that Winnipeggers party harder than anyone else because we have nothing else to do. We're in Winnipeg. We have nothing to do but go to socials and hit each other with foam sticks.
So Fallaryn, obviously Wildgard roleplay was a significant discussion in the last panel and seeing things online and things like that. What's role-playing like? You talked a little bit about improv and stuff like that, but what does that mean?
Basically, it's like with D&D how most D&D players really get into their characters, but at Wildgard you do it yourself as that character. Like you become the character.
Okay. No.
I live to foil.
I'm amazed.
And it's and one of the things that when Wildgards was started, the founders wanted to have the idea of a living story, the living story of Wildgard. None of our quests are, this is the quest and then it's cut off and it's not connected to any quest. No, everything is the town of Wildgard and its continuing story. You can go, oh, look how that character has grown and gone through all these different events, how the town has gone through all this stuff, how the tavern got burnt down and then rebuilt and then burnt down and then rebuilt and then that wall got blown out in the tavern. And I'm scarring this poor barmaid.
Didn't it burn again? The tavern keeps burning down.
I will never stop talking about how the tavern keeps burning.
Thistle, who controls the story?
So with the story, it's no one controls it. We've attempted at times to create a committee that sort of guides it, and every time that's happened, it's gone badly. What happens is after battle games are done, we say, all right, quest is starting. And instead of everyone meeting and like, these are quest rules, these are your props, and this is your mission today, it's get into character and go. And people got into character, and then they had all these interactions and relationships, existing relations with people, and factions that have been formed because we're characters, and that's what happens. And it was very, very much driven by the people playing, which caused certain people who were very, very talented to shine. We had a couple of players. A couple of players are the founding players, and a couple others were just very, very, very. They could be actors, right? They were just really, very into it, and they shone. They shone, and they shone. They shine. They shine. Words, and because of those people, they sort of like you could sort of attach yourself to them. And say, hey, I'm looking to start a character. I'm looking to start joining in this role play. And they're like, well, what, you can be a mercenary hunting my demon down.
Yeah. We don't talk about the demons.
And then okay, then they would just they can sort of latch onto this person's plot line that they had just created for themselves. And people were writing comics about the characters. We had online role play forums, very much like the ones you see for various like fan fictions and communities. You create your character, your OC, and you role play it. It's all very all written blocks of text. We had that going on.
We have in-character memes, such as him in stilettos is a very important meme.
Don't mention stilettos.
It was very, very much
That's
driven
past.
by the people who played, as opposed to an outside force.
Yeah.
So I do not want to butcher, but Thoror?
Thoror.
Thoror. Okay, stick with me here, okay? So Thoror, what's it like when you come to the lower 48? I mean,
Say that one more
Fallaryn,
time.
what's it like when you come to the lower 48 or other Amtgard?
The other
Sorry.
Sorry.
States, yeah, the states.
The lower 48.
Lower 48 is not a
in two
term.
states.
Okay, it's a term in Alaska. Leave me be.
It's very different, but it's also it's good different. My first big event, Curse, I've never been more immersed in roleplay before there, and it was very different from Wildgard's roleplay because there was a set thing and it was more fighting roleplay, but I had a reason to fight. I wasn't just fighting because fighting is what we do. I was fighting because there was a purpose. I was fighting for the prince, and I felt like in that game, in the context of the game, that I would risk my life for that. It was absolutely different kind of roleplay, but and then more events, just more fight, but maybe with flair, but fights. It's where did the taste like fights?
Fallaryn, how was your first clan? Was that your first event outside of Wildgard?
I've been to a few events. Like just a couple months earlier, I'd been to Maine for the first time as well. But Clan was the first one where I really got to meet people from far away, and it was pretty amazing because you see a whole bunch of various like little things in their cultures, and you see slight differences in the garb and artisan makes, and in the fights, and in the leadership.
Did you take anything back to Wildgard as like, hey, I found out this part does this, we should do that?
Yeah, like I would try to take notes, like such as from the university that I attended, and I just made this huge list of things that I observed that I thought were really handy, and I was like, hey guys, try this stuff, please. And they did take away from some of that.
So how big is Winnipeg?
The city itself has about 630,000 people.
She's the smart one.
Okay. Okay.
I'm the good-looking one.
Pretty, pretty spread out, or pretty metropolitan?
It's a bit of a sprawling city, so we do have a public transit system, buses, and so a lot of our players have to take the bus.
Oh, speaking of, that's actually how we get a lot of our numbers. Just sheer, we
You
used
hijack
to
buses
talk
and
about, okay,
market.
we used to coordinate, like just, okay, everybody, we have to get at this bus stop at the same time, and we all get on this bus at the same time, just flood the back of the bus with just garbed up people standing there, and we would just tell so many people about Amtgard via the bus, just boom, boom, boom. A lot of our early players were brought through just standing at the bus stop and just fighting at the bus stop. Brought enough attention, and if you have the enthusiasm when you're telling people about your park, it just gets them there. They're just.
So Thistle, how do I maintain that enthusiasm when it gets cold in Canada?
I think that recently that enthusiasm has had an issue during the winter, because especially when we started, we were all very, very excited about it. It's like this is the coolest thing in the world, you guys. We get to hit people with sticks, and it doesn't hurt them very much. That is super cool, and we get a role play and pretend to be people that we aren't, and that is awesome. And in the winter, I think we had a lot of pride as a park, as a whole. Like, yeah, we're Wildgard, we fight through whatever the heck we want. And Winnipeggers have a tendency we complain about everything. We complain about our city nonstop, but we're also very, very proud of the fact that we suffer through minus 40 winters for 7 out of the 12 months of the year.
I think minus 40 is going a little too easy.
Yeah, no, it's very, very cold there. Minus 40 Celsius. I guess that's the same.
Yes.
I don't
knows?
understand Fahrenheit. It's weird.
People keep trying to tell me Fahrenheit here when I ask them like how hot it's gonna be. I'm like, I don't know what that means.
It's very, very warm.
Degrees freedom, we use
very warm.
degrees.
So, I'd like to talk a little bit about the role play aspect, because it seems like some parts, obviously, it's a feast or famine kind of deal. Without there being a storyteller, how can you protect your character from other people influencing? How did you get to decide you worked in the bar whenever it blew up?
Well, so that actually happened when I started. So I came to this park. I had this refurbished pirate garb, because my pirate costume actually, because Halloween costume. What do I wear? And I said I came to the park with my character's name, their race, which is half dwarf, and their life goals, which was to run a bar. And so I said that to someone, and someone overheard and said, "Hey, we have this inn and a bar, and it doesn't have an innkeeper or a barkeeper." And so the next week I started bringing soda in cups, and I have not stopped. And that's one of the things that kept me there, was them giving me this responsibility roleplay wise.
But then how did you?
Question, you missed it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. No, but I loved it because it's great about character development. So
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
everything you said
Sorry.
is
That's Thoror's just like, I'm really excited, and they're the same as me. We both forget what we were talking about in the beginning.
So Thistle, you got your hand raised.
You said about you asked about how do you protect your character from other characters?
That's right. More so from other players.
Other players, yeah.
Other characters.
When we first park started, we didn't have anybody who knew what they were doing. I think the founding, the people who started, Zoom and Silver, their names were. I think they had done a little bit. They had gone to a few events before,
Yeah.
but
and
none of us knew how to fight. We had a rudimentary understanding of the rule book. It took I think a year and a half before we understood what Acid Bolt did.
Everyone's left.
It was we used flurby weapons. No one used a short sword. No one thought short swords were good because they're short, and how you hit someone with a short sword. And I think that aspect of it really led to us being able to create roleplay, because when we're fighting, and each fight takes 3 minutes because you can't hit each other because they're each using long swords. It lends an actual danger to the reality of the roleplay. Oh my god, I can actually get killed here. And of course, we never actually took a death as a permadeath.
Unless you chose to kill off your character, in which case.
Normally, it took a very, very extravagant means of doing that. Most people had, or some people like to fit in a little bit of role play, like why if you got stabbed, you just popped up again, or you just sort of like, oh, I'm really, really hurt. Give me a sec. I'll get up again and keep on going. I don't know. So I think it was just like we were all terrible fighting, and we couldn't actually kill each other, and that's how we didn't die.
I want to focus on the roleplay aspect a little bit, because tomorrow's release is actually going to be about roleplay and nurturing that culture and some negative aspects of the culture. That'll be tomorrow's release. So I want to just highlight and talk about this for a little bit. So how do you avoid people getting so attached to their characters? This is for you. How do you avoid being so attached to your character that anything negative is not crippling?
Oh, it's what it comes down to is a lot of the time we did have a while where because we would completely do open role play and just characters go out there and see what happens. A lot of people would want to play like just the villain characters, but the problem is that because everyone's attached to their character, no, you can't beat the villains. There was no way to. There was a couple people who were really good at it, and they were like, no, my character, I made this villain to be destroyed. I made them to be defeated eventually. But it was you have that thing where it's like, oh, I'm so attached. There are times where it is frustrating when, like, let's say, I have a monk character who ended up being like this politician in the Council of Wildgard, an in-character controlling force, and they had this thing where they would give long speeches about how we can solve everything peacefully, and that's how I ended up being called Ieda the Long-Winded. Because every time I did a speech, I would get assassinated. I would always get shot with an arrow or stabbed in the back mid-speech, right as I was near that final line that I thought of that was really good. But in the end, I just had to go and, wait a second, this is hilarious that my peaceful monk now has scars all across her back because she just keeps getting backstabbed while she's trying to be like, let's solve this peacefully. So what it comes down to is you just kind of have to, talk to people about that sort of issue coming up and how one could use any sort of negatives towards your character, like things that have happened, and shape it into, no, that's more angst for their story, like something bad happened, you can throw that in there.
Fallaryn? Are you a big RPer?
I was, yeah.
Was? Not so much?
Not after the accident.
That's so vague! That's so vague! That's hilarious!
But here, I'm gonna let you know though, Fal was always like the really quiet role player, like they did this they do amazing elf look and they just walk around and you're just scared, like that elf has a bow and they're being quiet, I don't know what they're up to, but they're cute. But they're also dangerous, so you have to kind of watch the elf.
Is most of role play then face-to-face, or do you do a significant amount online as well?
I did a bit of both when I was really into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who all did LARP before Amtgard? Or was Amtgard the first experience?
I didn't realize I was LARPing a lot of the times. I like to LARP. Me and another member of the park, we would often go into the woods by our place and we would forge swords out of like dead wood, and we just hit each other until we broke the swords against each other. And we would always dress up in costume with cosplay and the such, and we would just role play as the anime characters all the time. We'd videotape it, put it on YouTube. We were so into it, and that's actually how I ended up meeting the person who introduced me to Amtgard, via them watching our videos of us role playing as these anime characters. So it all connects.
Thistle?
Yeah, you were saying about negative things happen to characters.
Mm-hmm.
I spent a long time. I always found Quest to be very, very interesting because it was literally a story, a living story that came out of just people talking to each other. And I was like, man, what's going on? This is so cool. What is going on? I started, paying a lot of attention to what happens, and you always had the villains. There was always had to be the villain, right? And that caused a lot of the villain always drove the story, right? But the villain would cause negative things to happen to your character, That's what actually makes the character good and interesting, is not that I am super powerful, I fight demons and I win. It's, I have mental turmoil, everything I own is on fire.
Are you targeting me?
Wow, I literally can't catch a break.
No.
All of my friends are dead. All my friends abandoned me. My alliance is disbanded. That's what creates interesting protagonists, interesting characters, right? And when everyone is a protagonist in the story, you can't have people who are I'm all powerful. The best characters are the ones that were broken and horribly damaged.
Yeah.
And even our villains were absolutely they're messed up. They were messed up people or messed up things, and I think that's what actually I think the negative things happening to character was what made roleplay so interesting.
Oh,
Right.
I had a thought about roleplay. It just came into my head as an example of Wildgard roleplay was how the only time I remember that we've ever done something where it was, this is completely like vaguely unconnected to the story, it is, everyone has to play brand new characters, you are not, was we did a story that took place 100 years in the past, where this town had been built, we had, Wildgard built itself up, but before that it was empty, and because there was a horrible disaster. And it had just worked out perfectly that we managed, the demon that was the villain in our present day and their drow companion managed to pull off a doomsday during this 100 years ago quest that we were doing. But it was so much fun that all these people who normally have all these characters that they've worked super hard on were doing brand new characters and making up full personalities for them right off the get-go and getting really into it. I played a very angry monk talking squirrel who was having none of it, and you just get these interactions going, and also my recommendation for anyone who wants to roleplay is more puns. You just need more puns.
That's the worst thing you could recommend. Puns are scum of the earth.
All right.
You're not my
question
friend
for you.
anymore.
Thoror, work with me here.
All right.
Okay. Does anybody not role play? Does anybody just come out the stick jock?
Yeah. And that's what helps us survive through the winter, because role players, there's inherently less fighting when you're role playing, because you're going to want to take some time to talk to your opponent, give that battle some flair. Meanwhile, that battle isn't going to keep you warm throughout the whole day. So, yeah, there are people who don't role play.
What's the ratio? What would you think a percentage would be?
Right now, it's skewed in favor of the fighters.
Yeah.
It used to be 50-50, and then before that even, it was like majority, nearly 90% were just role players. Like, I'm talking a few years ago, but like now, I'd say that we should strive to get the 50-50 again, but it's still mostly fighters right now.
Yeah, and a lot of that is because we have the winter, just a lot of the role players just kind of fade into the darkness. A lot of us are actually members of the disabled community. The disabled community is big in Wildgard. We love it. The level of role play really lets, for example, one of my friends has MS, and they love to come out and play their hobbit healer, and so yeah, they are an amazing bard, and they so they can't come out during the winter, and et cetera, et cetera. As well as we're really big with the furry community and really big with the queer community, but that's because we were founded by 2 queer furries. So that just set the tone. Wildgard is for everybody.
Don't worry, we're not that kind of group.
We're not that kind of group.
I really don't. It sounds like you're very diverse and you're very inclusive.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we could all learn from.
Wildgard is for everyone, and but yeah. So the reason why we have a lot more fighters right now is also because Maylong Weekend hasn't hit. And it's a thing in Winnipeg that that you don't start planting your seeds until after Maylong Weekend, because anytime before Maylong Weekend it can snow. Anytime
Snowed
blizzard.
yesterday.
It snowed yesterday.
Snowed yesterday.
Really?
We had weeks of plus 30, and then it was snowing
There's also
yesterday.
Yeah.
Plus 30. Oh my.
Celsius.
Celsius.
30 Celsius.
80s Fahrenheit.
Got it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah. So we have ridiculous weather. So we're still moving back towards getting in the role players for the summer and fall months. So.
Okay, so let's talk about diversity and inclusion. Fallaryn, obviously, 3 out of 4 members we've not had a panel of 3 women yet in ALU. We just have it. What's the normal park day look like for you?
In terms of diversity,
Sure.
yeah, it's pretty much 50-50 men and women. We do tend to attract the younger people. Like, we do attract some children under the age of 12, but it's mostly like teenagers, early 20s. We do try to push to encourage like older people to join us, because we do want them around. They're always fun to play with. And yeah, and we attract a full array of people from the queer community, and yeah, it's a really good healthy mix in my opinion.
Great. Typical Amtgard government, monarch, regent,
Yeah.
champion.
For sure. We like as we started, we had our 2 park founders, right? They have since left the park. Stuff happened. People weren't happy. That's different. That's totally unrelated though. But because we were all full, the park was very, very new, right? And we probably didn't follow our corpora 100%. More like 50% probably. We made a lot of stuff up as we went along. You know, we were in the middle of nowhere. We didn't know that there was Amtgard until like 2 years in. We had some people come up from Land's End like, "Kite, that was great." The guy's not a typical Amtgarder. So they actually led the park for I think a year and a half. And I think that's probably what led to them leaving. They got totally burnt out. It was way too much work for them. And we have you know all 4 positions. I don't think we actually need all 4 positions. So you know, I feel like a lot of times the champion's job is done by the whole park, or
Same with GMR.
same with GMR, you know, but we're all 5 positions then. And but I think recently we've had a couple of really good people step up and take charge, and that's really nice because there's not a lot of people in our park who are willing to run it. Everyone loves fighting, but I think that's probably our biggest challenge actually is leadership coming up, because we had some guys who were in office for the past 3 reigns now, and you know it's not fair on them.
Okay. Thoror, what's something you would change about the Amtgard in the States?
Amtgard in the States. Oh gosh. Gosh, this is difficult. I really like Amtgard in the States. I think they could have
That's
better,
okay.
I guess. What? I think they have better monster guard.
Monster guard.
I guess this is kind of personal because I showed off my monster guard to some of my friends, and then one of them was like, "We don't do monster guard here. We're just like, you know." Except that was probably an overstatement because there's monster guard is wherever there wants to be monsters, right? But like, then we got into an argument: is monster guard or court guard more important? And so. But nah,
just having that conversation probably puts you at the 4 beat end of the scale. So you're good. I know you're. I intentionally didn't ask you that last question just because I know you're like aching to get in there. So have at it.
Yeah. When it comes to role-playing in the States, I remember when I went out to an event, and it was like, yeah, this is a big role-play event in this reign. I'm like, I go there, and I'm like, okay, when's the role-play? When's the role-play? And then it's like, oh, yeah, you're just supposed to role-play whenever. I'm like, no one is in character. Like, it's like, oh, well, it's just, you know, the people who want to. It was 3 people. 3 people, and all 3 of us just walked together everywhere and role-played. It was just us 3 maneuvering. We had one point where we were just super excited. There was this whole thing with a dragon, and it was angry and attacking because it lost its egg, like its baby was gone. And, you know, it was a battle game, people fought the dragon, and then afterwards we were like, oh, we gotta find the baby. That's clearly like the next part of this storyline that they're doing at this event. No, they had no plan for that. But we continued going around anyway. So we went around to every campfire. Have you heard anything of an infant dragon or a dragon egg? We had one group laugh at us. I'm like, you are laughing at people role-playing at a role-play event. You were laughing at people role-playing at a LARP. Really? It was just one of those things where I'm like, you just need to have like hey, even if you're not into the role play, just if somebody comes up to you and they're just like, just gotta be like, like, you know, just don't be a jerk about it.
So, have any of you traveled to the other Canada parks?
We're really far apart. Canada's really big.
It's the same distance from our city to the core city in Rivermore than it is from our city to any of the Canada parks at all.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Any communication at least? I mean, any discussion about partnering or?
I know that our one of our park members, Corin, who's very, very new, but he's awesome. He's awesome.
Oh, everyone loves him.
He's super talented artisan.
Good looking.
He's been making communication. He's been communicating with all the other Canada parks, right? So he's very, very well known to all the other Canada parks, though, because he keeps on talking. He's probably the person who's made the most contact because his biggest trouble is supplies.
You'll recognize him by his Canadian garb.
We don't have access to decent foam. We don't have access to cheap fabric. I think Corin was saying it's like $30 for like a square foot of linen or something up there. It's ridiculous. We have very, very limited access to materials. If we want to get anything shipped up, we're paying $35 shipping, and a lot of us don't have that sort of money.
A lot of us get our mail sent to Land's End and they drive it.
We're all 1920s, right? So we have some friends down in Land's End, which is about 2 hours away from us, crossing the border, of course. And we visit them every couple of, maybe once every 2 months, or someone come up every once every 2 months just to hang out. And we're good friends with them, very, very close. And normally we get shipments, just like care packages of drill spot or blue camp pad, which we can't actually find at all in Canada. So you guys have just because you all know how to build stuff, everything people tell us is American, right? So I think Corin's currently trying to source what we can get in Canada, but it's really, really hard.
Yeah,
so I've been talking to them to get another material.
I talked to a lot of the Canadian folks as well. It's like always just like I want to hang out with you, and they're like, we want to hang out with you, but it's just so far away.
3-day drive.
So it's just really, really hard. And when it comes to talking to other parks, I'm always excited how Rivermore was pumping up sub earlier, so I just want to pump them up for a second, like the other parts of Rivermore. Because through Rivermore, I've had so many opportunities to role play with other kingdoms. I did stuff as a herald of Rivermore when Rivermore was pushing for kingdom. It was me and a couple other people. You were in it, right? Yeah. Where we went to every single Facebook page and every kingdom group, and we were like, hello, let us tell you about Rivermore, and we're entirely in character the whole time and just going back and forth with people. It got to the point where I had people from Northern Lights crowdfund money to get me to their event in Seattle. And that is Amtgard, and that's the kind of thing that when you can get these opportunities to just role play, and it shows this thirst for role play that people just saw me role playing on a Facebook account, and they were like, we need that, and I just love role play. Just want to champion it everywhere.
No, that's great. That's great. It is, and I mean, like you said, we're a live action role playing game, and there's definitely a group out there that wants more RP, and probably would love to move to Canada now based off this conversation.
And when I went to Seattle, I met up with some people from the group Gypsy Hollow, and they proceeded to say that, and continue to do, that they are now basing more of their parks roleplay around Wildgard's roleplay. I told them all about it, and I gave them contacts to the other people in Wildgard that they could talk to, because there's a real thirst for roleplay in Amtgard. It's just that a lot of people don't really know how to get going with it. So I'm glad we have that you guys are doing all these videos and stuff where you can really get it out there, all these different resources for people.
Okay. Well, we're happy to do it. So let's talk about enthusiasm a little bit and the inclusion. Sometimes it can be off-putting. How do you gauge that, Fallaryn?
Enthusiasm from players or from...
So that you're not
Mondays?
overwhelming somebody who may not be as energetic as Thoror was when she came out.
It's more of a improvised moment of okay, we see some people there that might be interested. Let's we're gonna have this person go talk to them because we think that'll be a good match.
Just sort of a gut check kind of deal. Okay.
Yeah. We used to joke that there was a warning for me and Thoror, like they will hug you. Just they'll ask first, but they will hug you. Just knowing that we're very friendly. But if you're not up to that, you back off. You gauge people's interest, and there's when you have a group that's big enough, though, you can have everyone has a different group that they can fit in. So you never have the issue where it's just it's you and those two people that are going hi. You can if you want a little more of a relaxed experience, there's always the people that are just like, hey, let's have some fun.
Thistle, you mentioned earlier some of your conversation about the different, I can't remember the term you used, but
Factions.
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 Is that comparable to households and companies?
No. Well, I guess in the fact that it's a group of people who hung out together.
But it's not a direct translation.
Not a direct translation, no. I think some people tried, but our park was too away from anything else for it to really go anywhere. It's like, oh yeah, I've got a household, and then it's like, cool. There's like 3 people in it, man. Good work, So, for example, when I call a faction, right, in roleplay, or I guess, even just in stories, you have groups that naturally come together based on, goals, right? So, we had, at one point, we had a bunch of elf characters who all decided that, I think it was led by one of our stronger people who was like, we need to start things up, when they're thinking, change things up, right? So he had, you guys are all racist towards elves, you guys all hate elves, so we took the entire elf population, convinced them all to go join him on the other side, not the other side of the park, because as the park we play in, it's a massive park, we play in one corner of it, but the very, very far away in a bluff of trees, almost so that you can't see him, right? And so then you could have created this faction of elves, and then everyone's like, hey, we're not racist, we love you guys, come back, our city is diminished to not elves, and everyone loves elves. There wasn't a lot of people that. So I know that I spearheaded a group with a church that I ran, a church that was sort of like a semi-military force called the Rose of Basilica, along with there's some other factions in there too.
There was the Temple of the White Lady. There's the Dark Temple. Ooh. And it's really funny because the White Temple and the Dark Temple like to have tea together.
So a bunch of different factions, and we sort of try to went over to convince them. But then what happened then was they're like, stay away from us, because they're all archers. There's 30 archers at our park when we had a couple 100+ players. 30% of them were archers. And it's like, you not shoot me right now. I'm trying to talk to you, right? So we were all standing out there, bows, and they're also have their bows fully drawn at us. And we're standing there with our shields or our great swords. Because great swords are great. Sort of like trying to talk them down. It's like, guys, we don't hate you. We're not racist. Like, you are the racist.
That was the one time I was in a faction too, because I had a bunch of new players that they didn't really know what to do, and I had been my peaceful monk, and I clearly had like a bit of a presence because. So they were like, hey, what kind of roleplay do you do? And I'm like, well, if you guys want to do monks, you guys could do monks with me. So they ended up getting all dressed up in the monk red, and we decided during this whole combat, this whole situation with the elves and the rest of the park, we were just like, this seems dangerous. So we went and had a picnic in the middle of the field between the 2 spots. So that anytime anyone walked by, we'd be like, do you have peaceful intentions? Let us tell you about pacifism. And that's how we decided to roleplay it out.
But yeah, so we had, because of these factions that were clashing, right, which is one of the big parts of what happened in the roleplay, these factions that clash because of different, beliefs or different just agendas.
Sure.
And you would have a war that erupted between the schism was caused. 2 sides are at odds. One was trying to talk the other one down, the other one doesn't have anything to do with it. With their own thing off the corner, and yeah, we created a war in which it was almost like a Cold War. We're both standing there ready to run at each other.
Is it safe to say though, while you've got the RP factions and obviously the storyline, everybody still comes together at the end?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's where it could go awry, right? All of a sudden,
for sure. After Park Day, we'd go meet up at Timmy's.
We'd all go to Tim Hortons.
There'd be 30 of us sitting at Tim Hortons. I feel bad in retrospect. They probably hated us.
Oh yeah, that Tim Hortons hated us.
Just full bar, everyone's just sort of joking about all the events, talking about all the crazy stuff that happened. Like, oh man, that guy got captured, killed. That was great.
Go to Spaghetti Factory every year.
And then afterwards we go home and we all hopped onto Facebook. We had a very, very
and continued to talk about it.
Nice.
And then a week or 3 days later, we had pictures because
hundreds of pictures.
People took photos, and all through the day. So we had sometimes there's 700 pictures a week.
Wow.
Coming out, and then everyone got to joke again about everything that happened that week.
Okay,
so very, very engaging.
Earlier there was a conversation, we're talking about 100+, and you referenced it to having some pretty big numbers, yet then a couple minutes ago we mentioned that a good day is about 50 during the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Did I miss something? Is it 100+ at events, or Thoror, go ahead.
Well, I believe that they're taking the monthly average. And
so is it unique players being 100+?
It is unique players, but we have gotten put 80, 90, even over 100 on a regular park day. And we get, on our best feast, we've had over 100.
Yeah.
That was a while ago.
A
Right?
while ago.
Yeah.
So in our park's prime, about 2 years ago, with 3 years into the park, we were hitting 70-person park days. When I joined, there was about 20 person, and throughout those next few weeks, it jumped up to 40, 50 as a solid, and say that for a bit. Went up to 70, 80, 90 was our best ever. No, it was 103, I think was the highest number we ever got.
Yeah.
On like
And
regular
then-
park day?
No, that was a feast. That was the,
The
and then-
summer feast
and
where
then
the press came and it, oh my gosh.
and then dropped down, and then,
Not have enough food.
people started, it was like, it's over now, or, people moved on, people were like, this, I'm done with this, it was a lot of fun, but I need to move on with life, or, people got angry with each other, stuff happens, people quit, and then I think, in a good summer, we're 40 now, winter, 20-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fallaryn, is there a big event? If somebody said that they wanted to come up and visit Wildgard, is there that moment, that day of the year, that event that they should come to?
Our summer event.
What's it called?
Usually every year it was the Summer Storm Lightning Festival, but sometimes people mix it up or they'll have a subheader. All of our other feasts are named after animals, but that one's the Summer Storm Lightning Festival.
Okay.
So yeah, just our summer mid-rain.
Yeah.
I think this year it's going to be a bit earlier because a bunch of parks in the States are making a trip up in July, I think, as opposed to August, which is when we have our mid-rain August long weekend. But I think it's going to be a bit earlier this year, so if there's anything, I think that would be the event to come to, and there'll be a Facebook event about it.
Great.
And we'll share on the Rivermore page and everything, so.
Though if you do want to brave up and see how Amtgard is done during our winter event,
Badly.
I highly recommend.
Yeah.
Yeah, frozen weapons are not fun.
You might be surprised. We got a significant number of Amtgarders that play in Alaska and obviously the northern areas of the States, so snow is not foreign to everybody.
Yeah.
Whenever I look at the groups in Alaska, I'm like, they're the same as us. They have nothing else to do.
Well, great. So it's about time to wrap things up. First off, and I'll say it again, thank you all so much, especially impromptu like this, for us just to throw you up there, and really appreciate the time. It's been some great conversations. But we're going to start on the right and go to the left. So Fallaryn, what's the big takeaway? What do you want everybody to know about Wildgard? And just so you know, the rules are you can't say anything to the person before you say. Okay, so she gets the clean slate. So Fallaryn, what's the one thing that you think the rest of Amtgard needs to know about Wildgard, or the one thing about Wildgard that the rest of Amtgard needs to adopt?
Being inclusive. That's big.
Yeah. All right. Well, bye.
Extreme role play. Going out, having our role play meets where we all would get together and we'd sit there and we would go, okay, well, where do we want, all of us together, where do we want the collective story, not just our individual stories, where do we want the collective story of Wildgard to go? Where do we want to move this? What kind of lore building do we want to do for this world that we live in, that we're existing in? And that gets me every time.
Okay. So Thoror, we've got inclusive, extreme role play.
Well, what I read from your question initially was, what do you want them to take away from, like,
And it's from this panel, whatever you
this
want to
panel,
say.
Yeah, so
What's your
I
bumper
guess
sticker?
I want you guys to take away that we're still young. We're still physically, we're all still young. We're just fresh out of high school and stuff, and we're still learning. So we're gonna be weird. We're gonna be loopy. We're gonna be not what you see in Amtgard as, and we don't want to be exactly the same as you guys, but we're just trying to fit in. We're just trying to do our own thing at the same time somehow, but we're learning. That's
Well, I'll tell you, and so I'm probably reading too much in your statement, but I'll tell you right now, most Amtgarders want you to get what you want out of Amtgard. So as long as you're having fun and sticking, obviously, code of conduct, remaining inclusive and things like that, you're doing it right. Regardless of what your Amtgard looks like compared to my Amtgard, if you're having a good time, you're doing it right. So don't worry about your age. Most of our parks are young. And don't worry and don't ever think you need to be apologetic, because again,
We're Canadian. That's what we do.
Don't apologize.
Sorry.
All right, Thistle, wrap us up.
I think, Wildgard's a really, really great park. I love it. I wouldn't say here. I'm kind of biased. I really like Wildgard. But I think one of the most important things, sort of along the lines of inclusiveness, is that I've never seen our park really judge a player on their ability to swing a stick. It's never been about the fighting. It's never been about how well, like whether or not what order of war you are, you know, how good you are on the dish line. It's been about how much fun you're having. And people who are having a good time are people who are having a good time, and people respect that, and people join it. And we don't judge all based on your abilities. And I think that's really, really cool, and I don't see that a lot in the Amtgard.
I think it's really, really cool too. And I can't imagine a better way to wrap things up. So again, thank you all so much for your time. You definitely got something special going on up there, and it wouldn't surprise me a whole lot if Rivermore is not joined by a few others to come up and get to participate in your extreme inclusive Amtgard. All right, thanks everybody again for your participation. If I could, a quick round of applause. Good job.